Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to jump right into a really powerful part of Psalm 119. We're going to look at a prayer that takes us from a place of deep, overwhelming struggle to this incredible, rock-solid trust in the truth of God's word.
This devotional is brought to you by the You Need Faith in Jesus team. All right, let's get right into the heart of this passage.
I want to start by asking you this, just personally. When life starts to press in, when everything feels like it's just too much and you're totally overwhelmed, where do you turn first? Where do you look for help? The writer of this psalm gives us a really powerful example to follow. He doesn't start off by putting on a brave face or pretending he's got it all together. No, he starts with this raw, honest cry for help, coming from a place of genuine suffering. He asks God to consider his affliction. Now, this is so much more than just a quick glance. It's a deep plea for God to look with real sympathy, to truly see his pain. Kind of like how he saw the affliction of his people back in Egypt. It's a cry to be truly seen. So what's really fascinating here is how he builds his case. He lays out the problem, he's in affliction, he makes his plea, deliver me, but then he gives his reason, for I do not forget thy law. Now, this isn't him saying, hey, I've been good, so you owe me a rescue. Not at all. It's an appeal based on his relationship. He's basically saying, Father, I'm your child. I've stayed loyal to you even through all this hardship. Please help. And as the prayer goes on, you can feel his focus sharpen. He moves from just a general cry for help to asking God to step into a very, very specific role for him. He asks God to be his advocate. I mean, think about that. He wants God to be his lawyer, his personal defender in the court of heaven. It's this powerful legal metaphor for exactly what he needs God to do. Plead my cause. That is a direct request for God to step up as his divine attorney and argue his case against whatever is coming against him. And check out the second part, quicken me. He's also asking for that spiritual life, that energy and strength to get through the trial, all based on the promises he knows are in God's word. And boom, right there is the powerful connection to the New Testament for us. The psalmist's ancient prayer finds its absolute fulfillment in Jesus, who is our perfect advocate, constantly pleading our case before the Father. It's an amazing thought. So now the psalmist kind of pans out. He draws this really sharp contrast. He looks away from his own problems for a second to observe the two totally different destinations for those who follow God and those who just don't. Why is salvation so far from them? The verse tells us exactly why, for they seek not thy statutes. It's not some random punishment. By actively rejecting God's word, they have cut themselves off from the only source of real salvation. It's a choice they've made. I mean, look at that. The contrast couldn't be more clear. On one side, you've got the person who hopes in God and clings to his law. On the other, the one who just ignores it and finds that salvation is nowhere in sight. The main point here is that your path is determined by how you relate to God's word. It's the fork in the road. So where does the psalmist get his confidence through all this? It's not in himself. It's not in his own strength. His hope is anchored in the unchanging character of God himself. This is the bedrock of his faith. He turns his gaze from the wicked back to God, and he's just floored. Great are thy tender mercies. It's the sheer size of God's compassion that gives him the boldness to ask again for life, for revival. And let's just pause on this word, great. We use it all the time, right? That was a great movie. But here it means something so much bigger. It means immeasurable, boundless, overflowing. The psalmist is saying God's compassion isn't just a little trickle, it's an ocean. And that is the foundation of his hope. He's also a realist. He admits, many are my persecutors. He's not just dealing with one small issue. He feels totally surrounded. But, and this is the key, despite that immense pressure, his resolve is firm. Yet do I not decline from thy testimonies. His loyalty to God's truth isn't shaken by all the opposition. And this brings us to the incredible climax of this whole section. It's just magnificent. He says, the very essence, the sum total of God's word is truth. And it's not just true as a general concept. No, every single one of its commands and its rulings is eternally valid. This is the solid rock that he's standing on. So what does this all mean for you and me today? Let's try to boil down the psalmist's journey into 4 practical steps that we can actually use in our own lives when we're facing tough times. First, cry out honestly. Don't put on a brave face for God. Just be real. Tell him your afflictions. Second, trust your advocate. Never forget that in Jesus Christ, you have a perfect defender pleading your case this very moment. Third, choose God's path. Make that conscious decision every day to seek His word and follow His ways. And finally, number 4, anchor your entire life in the solid, unshakable truth that God's word is true and it endures forever. And this right here is the truth that holds everything else together. The very core of God's word is truth. It was true in the beginning, it's true right now, and it will be true forever. So, the final question for all of us to walk away with is this. Knowing that His word is absolutely 100% true and will last forever, how are you going to consciously choose to trust it in your specific situation today?